It's Michael Popok, Legal AF. February 15th is a red letter day for Donald Trump and his defense team. No, it's not Valentine's Day, but two separate court hearings that are pivotal in the criminal prosecutions against Donald Trump are both going to happen on the 15th of February. First, the New York Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg led criminal case against Donald Trump for actions he committed while he was a presidential candidate in 2016 and not the President of the United States, in which it's as alleged in the indictment, he covered up payments to a former mistress or an affair of his, Stormy Daniels, and tried to label them as campaign contributions and campaign expenses, which is a crime in New York to lie in a business's books and records. That case, which we thought would take a backseat to the federal criminal prosecutions and trials like the one in the District of Columbia, has suddenly bounced back to the front of the line at a big hearing on February 15th in front of Judge Juan Merchan, where now that the dust has settled, and Judge Chutkan in the D.C. election interference case just today issued a two-line order, a minute order, on her docket that said what we always knew and always believed in the last month, that because the D.C. Court of Appeals, three-judge panel, has taken all of another month or 3 weeks to make a decision we thought they would make in days, the trial there has slipped by 2 months. And she is officially taking her trial off the docket for March the 4th start. In fact, she said, which I think with a little bit of a zets, a little bit of a zinger for her bosses at the D.C. Court of Appeals, she said, if and when the panel issues a mandate to either return the case to me as the trial judge and or grants the motion to dismiss the indictment, we are taking it off the docket. Now, that's one part of the dust settling. It's also clear to Judge Merchan for the 15th of February that Judge McAfee in Georgia is not going to be ready with his trial. In fact, on that same day, two worlds colliding for Donald Trump, two different trial teams stretching him thin while he's trying to prepare for Super Tuesday in early March. Judge McAfee is going to be holding an evidentiary hearing while Judge Merchan is deciding on the final trial date for his criminal case. Judge McAfee is deciding whether Fani Willis and her special prosecutor and, I guess, boyfriend, Nathan Wade, are going to continue in the case, and whether the case is going to continue or the indictment somehow is going to be dismissed because of Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, I don't know, going away to Napa Valley for a couple of days. It's about the best way I can put it. So that's a big, this is what happens when things slip, as they often do in trial calendars, trial dockets, appeals. And now what we've got is the glare of the spotlight on two cases. I mean, look, if we were picking the cases that we wanted to go first, I think everybody would agree, most people would agree, it's Jack Smith, special counsel's 4-count conspiracy case against Donald Trump in the District of Columbia, presided over by Judge Chutkan, and have it start in March. But that has now become a pipe dream. It's not happening. The second best case, I would have wanted probably Fani Willis's case to go to trial, but that hasn't even been set yet. And at the rate she's kind of fending off motions, ridiculous motions, may not get set before August or September or October, and it will never be completed, the Georgia election interference case, before people have to vote. So now Judge Merchan, also on the 15th of February, has a different road and path and glide path in front of him in setting his trial. Whereas months ago, the last time they met, 6-7 months ago, all of these judges and prosecutors were competing to go first. Who was going to go in March? Was it going to be Chutkan, which Judge Merchan already agreed to allow that case to go forward if it was ready, but it's not ready. Was it going to be Fani Willis? And then Aileen Cannon, of course, whatever she's doing, twiddling her thumbs as a federal judge in the Mar-a-Lago case. And that case is not even getting out of the starting blocks. I don't even think Aileen Cannon has her shoes tied on yet to run that race. So forget all of that. So now a whole different picture here, clearing in the woods for Judge Merchan. I'm first. So I would expect that on February the 15th, as the running theme of this hot take, Judge Merchan is going to set that trial for the end of March, beginning of April, and he's not going to hear about, Donald Trump's getting ready for primaries, and nobody cares about that. If they can argue that here's what could happen. Let's just give you a little bit of a primer to manage expectations. If in the next several days, which we've been saying for a lot of several days, the D.C. Court of Appeals 3-judge panel, Henderson, Pan, and Childs, makes the decision that we all know they're going to make, which is they're going to find that Donald Trump doesn't have absolute immunity to burn down the White House and assassinate an adversary and commit any crime at all, and they won't dismiss his indictment. Then it's going to go up on some sort of track, fast, slow, medium, to the United States Supreme Court. So that takes up, all of February, a lot of March. So the earliest it looks like Chuckin could get the case returned to her, even if we're right about how we think this is going to go, is going to be, mid-March. Then you're looking at, she's got to give time for the lost time for Donald Trump. So you're starting to look at a June trial. And a June trial in federal court will get completed before November, to let people know that in the electorate, thumbs up, thumbs down, Donald Trump a criminal or not? Is he absolved, exonerated, or convicted? Which is it? We want to know. People want to know, Popok. So just going through the math here, if in the next few days before the 15th of February, if the D.C. Court of Appeals rules, and I got to think they're going to rule, then even with that data point, Judge Merchan in New York is still going to go forward to the beginning of March, because you just have to add plus 2 to 3 months back on a Chutkin's calendar in the District of Columbia to put that case back on track, because she's already ruled a month ago that she does not expect Donald Trump to have lifted up a pen with his lawyers to keep preparing for a trial unless and until the D.C. Court of Appeals rules. So she's going to have to give him makeup time, like a test, extra time added on in order to get to that trial, which again, front and centers the Manhattan District Attorney case. And then on the 15th of February, with all of these data points in mind, the slow footing of the case by Judge Cannon for Mar-a-Lago, the Judge Chutkin already declaring that she's going to add plus 2 or 3 months onto any restart of the case. What Judge Merchan does at or about the same time, Judge McAfee is going to have to make a decision off of an evidentiary hearing on that same day, whether he's going to keep his prosecutors in place, he's going to dismiss them, and whether he's going to dismiss the indictment. Here's my handicap on that. Here's my prediction. Fani Willis stays in place. Nathan Wade may go out the back door. I'm not sure yet. And the indictment stays in place. And I've said in a prior hot take, it is time for Judge McAfee, who has been running an extraordinarily efficient and proper and sober courtroom, to set the trial of Donald Trump. The more time where you're leaving it to the devices of these various co-conspirators, the more mischief, right? Idle hands is the devil's plaything. That's what we're watching now. Nobody's got a trial date. Everybody's running around. Motion practice is out of hand, out of control. The way you control that as a judge is you set a trial date. And I think that's what we're going to see on the 15th. So again, 2/15, we're going to see Judge Merchan set his trial for end of March, beginning of April. Scott McAfee, I think, ultimately off that hearing on 2/15 as well in Georgia, which is going to be presided over by Steve Sadow. Is going to be handled by Steve Sadow for Donald Trump. Is going to keep at least Fani Willis, the Fulton County DA, in place, and keep the indictment in place. And I hope set a trial date, at least for Trump and Mike Roman. Back the spotlight back on Alvin Bragg. He's ready. Look, that case is relatively simple and doesn't have a lot of moving parts. As it's been pointed out by other commentators, Georgia sprawling dozens of counts, more than a dozen co-conspirators with Donald Trump, right? 7 battleground states, 30-something felony counts. It's a big case. And in state court in Georgia, it's going to take 6, 8, 9 months to try. Mar-a-Lago has got all that, Classified Information Procedures Act, SEPA stuff. You got to build a facility. You got to look at everything. You got to have hearings with the SEPA officer, and just delay after delay after delay. DC election interference case, as we see, has presidential immunity baked into it, and it's tying up the appellate courts in knots. But not the very low, slow, no moving parts case of the Stormy Daniels hush money cover-up business record fraud case. 1 defendant, okay? You got 34 counts, but they're all sort of tied around payments. And then you've got, it was a little bit of an interesting gallery of witnesses that'll testify. I mean, the indictment, as it is written, says that Donald Trump, along with David Picard, whose name is spelled Pecker, from the old National Enquirer days down in Boca, kind of got into a conspiracy where David Picard would operate a catch and kill program, which is sort of what it sounds like. He would find all of these people that were claiming to have slept with Donald Trump, who were trying to also, ask for money related to that. He would find them, offer to buy their stories, give them money from Donald Trump, and then kill the story. So it was a catch and kill, as devised by David Picard, accepted by Donald Trump. And the lead participants in that were Michael Cohen on our network and David Picard, along with Donald Trump, and Alan Weisselberg, the chief financial officer for the Trump organization since Daddy Trump. And he was already convicted of 17 felony counts. This chief financial officer served 100 days in the Manhattan Correctional Facility in Rikers Island, and now, based on reporting by the New York Times, is very close to having another plea deal in which he pleads guilty to the felony of perjury, lying under oath during the New York Attorney General case that's now seeking $500 million against Donald Trump. You get how all this connects? This is like one of those things on like Homeland, like red, yarn and pins over the conspiracy. But I'm trying to do it without the yarn and the pins. So here we go. You've got that Weisselberg, along with Michael Cohen, who were Michael Cohen. At first, David Picard laid out the money, So for one of them, I can't remember which one, some beauty queen that slept with Donald Trump. It'll come to me, McDougal. Picard laid out the money, like $130,000, something like that. But he never got paid back by Donald Trump. Does this sound familiar? And so Picard said, I'm not using my own money for this. So Michael Cohen laid out the money from his bank account when he was consigliere for Donald Trump. And, he went to jail for part of this. And then he would get reimbursed on the books, making it look like a legal expense to Michael Cohen with a bonus and payments, when it really was just a cover-up of payments made, like campaign finance payments that were made because candidate Trump didn't want it coming out that he slept with Stormy Daniels, a porn star. And he certainly didn't want Melania to know about it. So they were using Michael Cohen as the beard to make the payoff. Then when they recorded it in their books, because they had to keep track of the money, they didn't record it as payoff to former one-night stand. They wrote, legal expenses bonus to Michael Cohen, and that's the fraud in the books and records. Now, some people might think, well, this is sort of a ridiculous case, and what kind of felony is that? Yeah, it's a low-end Class E misdemeanor, felony in New York. You don't normally go to jail for that. However, if Alvin Bragg is successful with a New York jury, and I think by all indications, the Manhattan DA's office is an elite fighter squadron of trial lawyers, and always has been, they'll succeed, and they'll tag Donald Trump with a felony conviction, low grade as it is, in New York for this fraud. And the way that Alvin Bragg is positioning the case, and I think rightly so, is that it was a dress rehearsal for election interference for Donald Trump. He got a taste for it. Got a taste for it in 2016 while he was candidate Trump, and then he just thought he could get away with it later on. And so there is a lot of benefit to the criminal justice system that Alvin Bragg win this case. Now, if he loses the case, of course, it puts the wind at Donald Trump's sail to claim all the other criminal prosecutions are a witch hunt and all of that. But let's get the win up on the board, right? You can all, when they say about sports teams, when they're playing their opponent and their opponent is not very good, you don't want to play down to your opponent. You need to play the games on the schedule that you have. You got to beat Donald Trump at this trial. And I can't think of a better organization than the Manhattan DA's office to do just that. They got the right people, the right elements, the right issues, and it's a simple case to present to the jury. Unlike Jack Smith's case, which is a little more complicated, Mar-a-Lago, which has all its classified top secret documents issues. This is just about common business record fraud in New York. Was this check booked for what it really was, or was it booked for something that was fraudulent to hide its true nature and purpose? That's it for the jury. It's not that hard. It is binary. The light switch is on or it's off here. And I think for a jury, it's going to be a very easy case to understand, and that the simplicity of the case is probably its it gives it its heft, gives us its gravitas. We'll follow what happens on February 15th. I'll report right back here the night of February 15th or February 16th. But that's a big red letter day, as I started the hot take with, for Donald Trump. And we'll follow it based on these criminal prosecutions and where we're going. One place and one place only. The MeidasTouch Network right here. Don't change that dial. We already got 2 million free subscribers. Hopefully you're one of them. And then I do this show, a version of these hot takes, but with a co-anchor, Ben Mycelis on Saturday, Karen Freeman Agnifilo on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the YouTube channel for MeidasTouch. You're right there now. Don't change that dial. If you like this kind of content, give me a thumbs up and a comment. The more thumbs up and comments I get, the more likely it is that I'll stay on the air that sounds terrible. I'm going to stay on the air, but just give me the comments and the thumbs up. It does help, and I have been known to jump into the comments and have a dialogue with you, which I think is also healthy in this current age and environment. And then you can pick up the audio of Legal AF, which is that leading podcast at the intersection of law, politics, and justice. Also, or wherever you get your audio podcasts from. So until my next Legal AF, until my next hot take, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.